What's going on, everybody? Cigar Show Tim here with Brandon Marsh of Big Sky Cigar Co. And we'll wait a few minutes for some people to jump on and all that good stuff. But other than that, you are sitting out in a t-shirt and what looks to be comfortable weather. What is the weather like where you're at, and where are you at right now?
I'm down in Houston, Texas,
Oh, that would do it.
and it's uh it's hot.
I bet. Is it
I've
probably 80s or 90s by now, or what's it at?
low 90s, low
Low
90s.
90s? Yeah, that'll definitely do it. So, well,
I
I'm
was
going to switch over here. Let me do this and comment, see who's. Hey, Caesar. What's going on, brother? Hope you're doing well. Yes, everybody that's jumping on here, go ahead and make sure if you're watching on Facebook that you click the link that's, I believe, just above it so that you can make sure that your username shows up so that you don't show up as Facebook user and we have no clue who we're talking to. But well, let's get jumping right into it. Brandon, tell us a little bit about Big Sky Cigar Co. I know you've been doing this big, huge media tour, virtual tour, essentially, but then you've been doing the in-person tour quite a bit as well. Tell everybody a little about Big Sky Cigar Co. If you want to go into the backstory, how it started, whatever it may be, but educate the people.
So Big Sky Cigar started 6 years ago. My buddy Jess, he's my business partner. He was smoking a cigar up in Montana on a lake while he was fishing, and we always threw business ideas back and forth. And he texted me and said, "Hey man, I got a business idea." And so I was like, I'm gonna give you a call when I get back into cell service. I can't really talk here where we're at. So he calls me and he's like, hey, we should start a cigar company. It's like,
Like,
uh,
wait, what?
well, I was like, well, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, I love cigars and like they're always fun to like hang out with and like sounds like a pretty cool thing to do. And we just looked into how to do it, and we created a business plan. Met with a manufacturer. Luckily, that they even wanted to talk to us.
Yeah, right.
There's so many emails you can send out now, and people are just like, "Yeah, we're not doing private labels. We're not. Our inventory or our capacity's full. We're not going to bring anybody else in." So we got lucky. We came in when we did, but we were lucky enough to get in with this company. We blended our first cigar, the Yellowstone, and
Mm-hmm.
then kind of just built our portfolio from there. But if you look at our cigars are named after rivers in Montana, at least our
Mm-hmm.
river series, the Yellowstone, Bighorn, Madison, and Bitterroot. And then we released our favorite, not our favorite, but I guess our final river series cigar at PCA this year called the Blackfoot.
Yes,
So
talk
I'm really
about
excited
Blackfoot.
by
Tell
that.
us, tell us a little bit about if you can talk about the blend, how it came to be, because as you know, I've loved everything that you've put out, and I've known you and Jess really pretty much since the beginning of when you guys were starting up. But tell us about Blackfoot.
Yeah. Um, So the Blackfoot is me and Jess both grew up outside of Missoula, Montana. He was down in the Bitterroot, and I was more outside of Frenchtown, going towards Idaho. And everybody fished the Blackfoot there growing up. Brad Pitt made it famous from a river runs through it,
Uh-huh.
and it's one of the most famous rivers in the world. And so that's what we wanted to have our final River Series cigar called.
Okay.
And then what we did differently this time is we went down to the Dominican Republic, and we met with four factories while we were there,
Oh, wow.
and they all made great cigars. It's kind of crazy, like when you're in the game for 5 years and all of a sudden people want to roll cigars for you.
You're like, wait, I don't have to go begging people. They actually want to?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so you're telling me you actually have distribution and you can sell some cigars? Oh, yeah, we can probably sell a few, but not a ton, just a few. But we uh we went down there and we ended up settling with this master blender named Chico Rivas.
Okay.
And we I've never really been a huge Dominican fan. I've always felt I like Nicaraguan cigars more.
Sure.
And then I smoked Chico stick that he rolled for us, and it was a Corojo all the way through.
Okay.
And I was just like, "Oh, this is great! Like, however you do this is awesome." Like, so then we played around with it we were with him for about a week, and played around with the blend, and then we ended up settling with putting a Mexican San Andreas on the wrapper with a Corojo binder and filler. And just it was really cool working with Chico and his manager Jamil.
Okay.
They're great guys, and just really happy to see how the cigar comes out. And I believe it's going to be very well received. It's going to be an amazing stick. So.
That's cool. Now with the Corojo, and it's become much more popular the last year and a half, I would say. There have been a lot more cigars coming out with Corojo. Now, does the Blackfoot have that sort of Corojo tang that some people, you either love it or you hate it? Does it have that sort of Corojo tang with it?
I didn't really get the tang to it.
Okay.
But we'll see. I
Yeah.
mean, we were smoking it fresh off the table, so we'll see how everything marries up together.
Nice. Very cool. Now, I'm smoking, just so everybody can see it, I've got the Mad Minnow. And if you are anyone that enjoys just a quick smoke, as of course it doesn't want to focus now. My camera always focuses well, except when I need it to. But I've got the Mad Minnow here, and I absolutely love this because it's a really good, like 30 to 45 minute smoke, great flavor. But with the Mad Minnow, you've also sort of updated this as well. So why don't you talk about what's going on with the Mad Minnow and a little deviation that you have with it?
I'm just lighting I had to relight my cigar. I lit it and then I didn't smoke on it for a little while, so it's chewing out on me.
Party foul.
So the original Mad Minnow, it's a Habano with a long filler.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great 20, 30-minute smoke. We've had like a huge positive response with it. It
Yeah.
was in the care package for Cigar Authority in January. And
Okay.
when Ed called and asked, "Hey, do you want to have the Bad Minnow on our the Cigar Authority?" And I was just like, "Yeah, that'd be pretty cool."
Yeah. Right. Why would I say no?
Yeah. So it was the first stick that they smoked during the show, and you know, all the guys loved it. So it was pretty cool. And so we were playing around with a different idea, and we're just like, well, let's just change the blend up a little bit and let's make it the chocolate minnow. And so we released the chocolate minnow last month,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the packaging is super cool. I wish I had a picture of it right now, or I could share one with you guys. But
Mm-hmm.
it really looks like a candy bar. How we package it together,
That's
like a
cool.
Ferrero Rocher look,
Uh-huh.
and so the packaging is really neat. But then the flavor, it's got that Mexican San Andreas wrapper on it, and it's just like a pepper bomb. Like
Ooh, okay.
that's just what I get from it. So
Very cool. So what made you want to update or do a little a variation, I guess a secondary blend, if you will, with the MSA on the wrapper? What made you want to do that? Was it just playing around, or you thought, let's do a line extension?
uh, we just wanted to play around and see how it would be received. I mean, it's still it's a real big pain because you know Jess wraps those packages like himself. And so like we bought the gold foil off Amazon, like the food grade, and like got the stickers made, and so we're cutting all the ribbon. Um, so it's very tedious to make it look cool. So it's kind of like, is this something that we really, really want to do with full production, or is it going to be like a kind of a one-time thing?
Sure.
But just kind of depends on how well it's been received. But it's been received really well so far. People have been enjoying the stick.
Good. Very cool. So we've talked about the new Blackfoot. We've talked about the minnow, the chocolate minnow. Of all of your bands, there's one that, and I'm going to take it out of the wrapper, there's one that stands out as being just super sinister. And we talked about this last year at PCA when I was there. And we talked about the meaning behind it and all of that. But this cigar right here, the Cryptid, talk about this and the band on it, because this is, I mean, compared to any other Big Sky band, you would never, ever know that it was a Big Sky cigar. So talk a little bit about Cryptid.
So the Cryptid, when we were designing that band, we wanted to do something that was different, and kind of do something that could. We heard that like Montana, you want to stick to your roots and stick to your guns. we wanted to do something that could make us more accepted nationally and globally.
Mm-hmm.
And so we came up with originally with it was going to be the Flathead Lake Monster, and so that's the Loch Ness Monster of the Montana or the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And so I designed the band like that, kind of like Game of Thrones, the dragon with the scales on the side and the wicked face, and then it's got
Yep.
our logo on the back of it, and that looks
Right.
pretty cool because the embossing of the scales it makes it look like real dragon scales. But yeah, they just did a really great job of the band manufacturer of the with the ideas that I had in my head of like actually bringing it to life. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it
But
looks awesome.
the interesting thing of that was that we were gonna name it the Flathead Lake Monster, and Jess was like, well, we should talk to a trademark attorney just to make sure like all our ducks are in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just on my Google search. I was like, well, you can't trademark a geographic location. And then so he's like, oh, we should still do it. So then we talked to a trademark attorney and just like, if you name that Flathead, you're gonna get a cease and assist by General because they have it
CAO
trademarked.
Flathead 660. Yeah.
And we're just like, he's like, they probably won't win, but they'll drag it out long enough to where you guys go out of business.
Oh yeah, they'll
And we're
just
just like,
yeah, they'll run you dry. They'll just spend money and money and money and drag it out.
yeah. So we're just kind of like, oh shit, what do we do? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one of our buddies was like, well, I was looking it up. I'm like, what about if you name it Cryptid? I was like, well, that's got a cool name to it. And then the term is it's like a Sasquatch, something that's been is known to be true but never been proven to be true.
Uh-huh.
And so then we're just like, well, how are we gonna like play with that a little bit? And so then it kind of came to the idea of like, well, we could do different cryptids from across the country. And so I think it's going to be a cool line uh, for us in our portfolio of how we can really relate to the different areas across the country and the world.
That's cool. So with the one that you have now, I'm guessing that's what's going to be in the works or is already in the works now that you've got the newest release that's coming out of PCA. Now that that's going to be coming out, I'm guessing Cryptid is sort of the next line that you're going to be focusing on for extensions and new blends and things like that. Is that correct?
No, you're right. It is correct. And we were playing with Chico in the factory down there of blending the next cryptid.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like when you're a smaller brand like we are, you don't really have the cash to pop out two lines at the same time,
Yeah,
right?
right. Hey, here's three new
So
blends all coming out of PCA. No.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd love to pull out 5 blends a year, but when
Yep.
me and Jess, we bootstrapped this, we both worked construction, saved all our money to build Big Sky, and that's how we made it happen.
Yep.
And so we have complete ownership of it. We don't owe
Mm-hmm.
anybody anything, so
That's
it's
awesome.
been worth it. So it's pretty cool.
Well, and you just within the last probably 8 months or so have been able to take this from what you were doing as the quote unquote side hustle and make it your full-time gig, from my understanding. Is that correct? You've been traveling around the country, you've been getting into more shops, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, it's been a lot. Going full time, I was
Mm-hmm.
able to take a lot of the stuff off of Jess's plate because he got a new position, so he really needed to focus and get his ducks in a row on uh, tackling that.
Sure.
And so, he was able to give me some of the stuff out of his plate, and then just working on sales, and I'm doing all the fulfillment now too. So if you ever make an order, I always write a thank you note.
Hey, you know what? That's a great touch because there are a couple different online um, shops that you can order from, and they're very well known for, in fact, one of them being an online shop that carries Big Sky, being Little Guy Cigar Shop. And Michael does the same thing, and he took notes from another large online retailer that I won't share the name of, but they were really good at that customer service of like thanking individually, for every single order, and it's had a really good, impact and effect on him, his customer base, and I'm sure it's doing the same thing for you guys.
Yeah, and I need to call Michael. We got in touch around TPE and just been so slammed up with this. I got to write that down on my notes to actually reach out to him again because I need to catch up
Absolutely.
with that
And
guy.
from my understanding, he'll be at PCA as well. So um,
Cool.
I believe he'll be there. So that'll be a good point, good chance to touch up. So, or catch up. So you guys started out and you did the River series. You've done all that. You're finishing that one off now. You've got Cryptid with that line extension. You, for a lot of your blends, are predominantly Habano with a lot of the tobacco. Is that because it's just your palate for you and Jess and what you guys enjoy? Is it because that's the tobacco, that was available that, just really hit the spot? What's the thought process or logic or reason behind a significant portion like the Madison and the Bitterroot both having Habano wrappers on them? Is there a reasoning behind that, or is it just the way the blends ended up?
Well, I've always kind of thought if you look at like how our cigars are released from the Yellowstone, it's a mild Connecticut, but it's still
Mm-hmm.
got some spice and flavor to it. The Bighorn, it's a mild to medium
Mm-hmm.
San Andreas.
But
And then
really
you
good
get
deep rich flavors. Really good deep rich flavors in that Bighorn. I love it.
yeah. I mean, it's a great. I love that steak with like a bourbon or even coffee in the morning.
Oh yeah.
It- and then the Madison, it kicks up that spice a little bit more. And then the Bitterroot, it's got a spice to it, but then it's got some cream to it. And then the Cryptid comes along, and it's its own animal. I mean, the
Oh
Mad
yeah.
Minnow, the Mad Minnows. It's kind of a little pepper bomb, but it's got a lot of cedar notes to it too.
Yep.
But I just when I think of like all those cigars and I look at how we developed them, it was just kind of like how our palates developed ourselves.
That's
And
really
like
cool.
going out and working with the blenders and getting to
Mm-hmm.
try and taste different tobaccos, and it's just like how we've really developed our flavor palettes.
That's cool. So you can see the progression not only of the company and how you guys developed, but also just sort of where the next blend took with whatever manufacturer you were working with. Because you've worked with a couple different ones, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
So we worked with Tobacco Costa for the Yellowstone, and then we worked with Carlos Sanchez at the Casa. And Carlos has done an amazing job working with us, and very grateful for his help and his guidance. He's taken us under his wing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he calls us kids,
There you
or
go.
he calls me kid when I call him. Hey, what are you doing, kid? I'm like, but he's just a cool guy, and so really Carlos has blended everything for us
Okay.
except for the Yellowstone, and then now the Blackfoot. So if you
Mm-hmm.
really love our cigars, I mean, I just want to say that you really love what Carlos has done because we really leaned on Carlos to help guide us along the way.
Yep. Now, you guys, in the number of years that you've been around, I know one year I had the Madison is one of my top cigars. In fact, I'm looking over at my list to see which year that was. I have all my cigars of the year, like top 10 lists over here. The Bitterroot, excuse me, Bitterroot hit number 6 2 years ago in 2021, and I think the year before I had the Madison pretty high up. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 on my top 10 list. You guys are consistent at what you do. Talk about what you do when you're going down to the DR, wherever you're going, and the process behind the blend. You go in with sort of like a game plan, a mindset of like, hey, we want to, our palates are here, so we want to have something that's going to be like Cryptid, that's going to be stronger. It's going to be a whole nother realm compared to what you've done? Or is there just sort of a let's just play with tobacco and see what happens kind of thing?
Oh, we have an idea in our head of what we'd like. I mean, the Cryptid, when we first went down there, we asked Carlos to make a cigar that would smack us in the face, and he did. And I was just like, well, I don't want to get smacked in the face every time I smoke this cigar. So can we tone it down a little bit? And he did, and he still made it to where it's medium to full, but it's not like your mouth doesn't get just overbearing.
Yeah,
It's
you
not an
don't.
overbearing cigar.
Yeah, you don't blow out your palate. It's not like, oh, you have that, and if you're going to follow it with something else, you're completely dead in the mouth, and you just gotta wait a while or anything. It's definitely got the deeper, richer, stronger notes. It is a stronger cigar, especially compared to everything else. The Bitterroot, I would say though, when trying that out when it first came out, the Bitterroot had a little more strength in it than I was expecting, considering the blend. But it was nice to see that you guys stepped up, because originally when the Bighorn came out, I thought, oh, this is going to be strong, it's dark, the stereotypical, it's a Maduro, so it's going to be really strong. And it was much more of a medium strength. But I was impressed and surprised that when the Bitterroot came out, it actually had a little more strength than I was expecting to get from it.
Mm-hmm. And that's just, we wanted to pick up our strengths and our flavor complexities with every cigar that we've came out with. And then going down to the DR, I really wanted to go and make a Dominican cigar that had, a majority of Corojo in it. And I enjoy
Mm-hmm.
Corojo cigars.
Yeah,
And I was just like, all right, well, let's just see who can make the best one. And that's the one that we, when we met with Chico and he won us over. And I was just like, all right, well, this is awesome. I'm happy that, we're able to find out what we wanted to do here.
very cool. So you've been traveling around quite a bit. What has the response been? Well, let's do this first. How many shops have you been able to get in as Big Sky and online retailers, shops, and all that? Because when I first met you guys, I think you were just sort of local in Montana and just starting to try and get distribution and spread out more and do all of that. How many shops and lounges are you in? What monthly clubs have you been in? Where all have you been able to get some attention and spotlight?
We really, like you said, started in Montana, and we were able to get into some monthly subscription boxes. And the first one we got into was Luxury Cigar Club.
Uh-huh.
And Chris and Ben, they were great. They brought in the Bighorn,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Madison, the Bitterroot, and then the Yellowstone. So they brought in 4 of our cigars so far. And so thank you to Chris and Ben very much. I think that was so cool of you guys.
They're good guys.
And one of the thing there was, and I told this to Ben at TPE, we reblended our original Bighorn because of the uh, positive or constructive feedback that we got from Ben and his team at Luxury Cigar Club, because they were saying there's some quality control issues with it. And originally it was a torpedo
Mm-hmm.
broadleaf, and it was blended at Tobacco Costa. And, and we'd started seeing that ourselves too. The more that we smoked it, we just saw that it wasn't the consistency that you need to have in a cigar. So we took that to Carlos and we had it reblended with a San Andreas wrapper in that Toro format. And so that's really where that driver came from, was just listening
Okay.
to, the people that enjoy our cigars and smoke our cigars, and like taking a gut check and saying, hey, you know what? You don't always do things right, but you have to accept what you can do better.
And that's a
But
great perspective to have. And let's dig deeper into that one, because there are a lot of cigar either brand owners, which like you guys are, they don't manufacture the cigars, but you have someone that manufactures them for you, and they go in and they go, "This is what I want," and they stick to just that, even though they get feedback and response that may not be 100% positive. And you're never going to please everybody's palate. That's just the reality of the cigar industry. But there are some that just don't listen to any other feedback. They're like, this is what I want, this is how it's going to be, and this is what I'm going to make. But more and more, I'm hearing of more brand owners that are taking into consideration what the customer base is saying and what their clients, whether it be luxury, whether it be another cigar of the month club, whatever it is, that are saying, hey, this is what we'd like to see. Can we tweak this? Can we do this? And they're starting to listen, and it's having an impact. And I think it's cool that you guys did the same thing, because at the end of the day, you want to make a cigar that the customers want to enjoy and buy again, not just try once.
yeah, no, 100%. And really, at the end of the day, me and Jess we're cigar smokers, and we started off as cigar smokers. And
Yep.
uh, 6 years ago, we were just guys who were buying cigars off the shelf. I still go into humidors all the time and buy other people's sticks. But it's all about the experience. People are paying good money for a cigar. You want to have them the best experience they can have. Guys, if
Yep.
somebody's gonna buy this cigar and take an hour or 2 hours to smoke it, you want to have a good time so they can enjoy themselves. And the biggest thing is like making a good cigar for your customers.
Yep.
So,
Now, other than luxury, have you gotten into any other cigar of the month clubs, whether it be BL Luxuries or Pravada or Cigar Federation or any of those other ones? Have you gotten into any other of the monthly box clubs yet?
you know, uh, I was trying to think. So we were sold on Pravada's site,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but we weren't in their box. They were talking to us about putting the cryptid in their box, and the numbers just didn't work out for us.
Sure.
Um, and then the no, I don't. I think we just only been in luxuries as far as the subscription box.
Perfect. So are you
So
guys looking at changing that with PCA this year with your new release of getting into some different box clubs then?
I mean, we'll see. It
Sure.
that would be that will be definitely a possibility because you don't want to say no to any sales channel
Right.
or to
Sure.
any partnerships.
Hmm.
But what our main focus is really is on our brick and mortars,
Yeah.
and that's just where we've really focused this past year. And after PCA this summer, coming into this now Q1, Q2 of this year, we're in 29 states and 120 brick and mortars. So
That's awesome.
it's pretty cool.
That's
And
cool.
it just keeps growing, and
Hmm.
people are really enjoying our cigars. Down here in Texas, it took a minute, actually more than a minute. It took about 2 or 3 months before people started, like coming around trying our stuff out. And now we're in 12 shops down in Texas, and we're just keep adding them. So we just
Yeah.
got into the Club Humidor down in San Antonio into two of their stores. So that was pretty cool.
Nice. And I keep seeing your social media posts with all the different places that you've gone to recently talking about, oh, this shop's bringing it in now and this shop's bringing it in now. It's got to be a really good feeling to know that it's more than just Montana and the local places that want to support you, that are jumping in and wanting to enjoy Big Sky and push them, especially with all the different variety and the blends that you have to offer. It's got to be one of those things where you walk out of the shop when you're done and just be like, cool, that's one more people get to experience it.
Yeah. And now let's just keep developing our business structure, and
Hmm.
we it's really to a point now to where like bringing in more people. Like we have our sales team
Hmm.
of independent reps. We have 6 independent reps across the country, and thank you
Nice.
to our sales team. You guys are doing a great job. But right now it's just like I'm spending so much time packing orders that like it's hard for me to like get out and actually go do events, because I go do, like, when I went to California and I did those 3 events in California, that
Hmm.
whole week I was playing catch up on orders to other retail shops. It's just
Yeah.
like, and then you come back and you're drained because you're hanging out with people for 4 days, and like you're flying, and it's just like, oh, now I got to pack orders, and I'm just like,
I
oh.
just finished working and now I got to keep working again.
uh, like, great problem to have.
I know,
But
right?
uh,
So I just finished up basically the Mad Minnow and we're 28 minutes. So if anybody's curious or watching this on the replay and they're like, okay, yeah, it's, smaller in size. How long does it really take? It truly is about a 25 to 30 minute smoke. If you just sit there and babysit it, you can stretch it out to 45 minutes, but you got to really be babysitting it to get to that point. And
mhm.
I'm lighting up because, well, I absolutely love it. I'm lighting up the Bitterroot now and going to enjoy this. So um, what other goals do you have? I guess is probably the easiest way to put it. Obviously, PCA is coming up. You're going to be there again. I got to finally meet you and Jess for the first time in person at PCA last year. What are some goals coming out of PCA this year?
Just like I got a bug in my ear. Oh, man. You know, what my big goal was in talking to my sales team is introducing the brand to all the shops across the
Hmm.
country. And
Yep.
just really this year is just a brand introduction. So when it comes to their trade show, they've seen Big Sky, and it's just not somebody that walk by and they say, "Oh, I've never seen it before." And so our team's done a really great job of putting our sticks in everybody's hands. And these bugs are killing me, but it's like a little gnats in my ears and it's like crawling around. Oh my god! But so really, it's just kind of, I think of when people say you reap what you sow. We'll just really see what's going to happen at PCA. And from the feedback that we've got and the stores that we've added before the show, I think that we're going to have a really nice PCA. It's going to be our best trade show that we've had so far.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm really excited and looking forward to it. And like you said, as far as like the media push that I've tried,
Hmm.
talking and getting out and doing interviews and getting in front of people, and I've one thing with being able to do this full time is I was actually able to focus and go out and schedule interviews and go out and push the brand as best as I can. And I've done a good job with it. Could I do some things better? I'm sure I could have, but I'm trying my best.
Absolutely. Well, and you've got to learn as you're going through the process as well of, okay, this worked, this didn't work. Maybe soon with PCA coming up, and all the media stuff you've been doing, because I've seen a lot of my media counterparts have been pushing out the press release that you sent out a week and a half ago, whatever it was, with the Blackfoot and all of that. So there's a learning process of, okay, this is when I need to release the press release. This is when I need to start doing those different things. The only way to learn that is basically by going through it and learning what works and what doesn't.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's something like if I could pick your brain on is getting a contact list of press release people. I mean, that'd be really helpful for me because
Yeah, absolutely.
I just like with Matt at Smoking Tobacco, I hit him up on LinkedIn. Like I didn't know how else to get a hold of him,
Yeah.
and Brooks at Half Wheel, he reached out to me. We did a press release with him last year with the professor and the cryptid. So thanks, Brooks, and
Hmm.
thanks Timber. You're the first person that pushed our stuff out this year for the Blackfoot, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Um, and then I didn't even know PCA. Dang that! I didn't even know PCA was going to do that article for us. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, I see that article they wrote, and I was like, "Well, this is really cool."
And you probably hear getting more and more of those moments where it's like, wait, they hit me up for information. They want to interview me, but I'm just, my own words. I'm just, Big Sky, and we're not massive. We're not a this brand or that brand, but they're reaching out to me. I see that as one of those opportunities when the media starts reaching out to you or talking with you or saying, "Hey, we want you on our show." Like Kevin Cigar Prop, dear friend of mine, good brother, and you've been on his show, Smoking Tobacco. You were on with Matt. Matt and Nicole are great people. I mean, there's everybody from Boston Jimmy to Lee Mack to person after person, and absolutely, I can connect you with some of those people and help get the word out more about Big Sky. But you've been pushing the brand and traveling quite a bit, so talk to us a little bit about being on the road. Obviously, you mentioned when you get back, you don't really get to take a break because you got to fulfill all the orders that were just placed while you were gone. But what's it like being on the road and finally, like when you took that first road trip, being full time? What was sort of the take on that? Because it was a completely shift in you're working for yourself. It's up to you to make this happen.
Yeah, so the first road trip I did, I went and met with our rep in the Midwest, Tommy Klein, and Tommy does a great job for us. So thank you, Tommy. And flew into St. Louis and met with some stores in St. Louis, Riverman, Wild, Route 66, and I'm trying to remember who else. I think there was another one. Oh, Grand Cru. And then we went to Kansas City
Mm-hmm.
and oh no, so I had an event in Pacific at the Cigar Vault
Okay.
with Shane and Jen, and so we
Nice.
did that event, and then that went really well. It was cool, like people coming in from the St. Louis area, smoking our sticks, really enjoying it, and
Nice.
so then the next day we get up, and that was cool because like I've never been to St. Louis, right?
Okay.
And so uh, I was staying at the Union Station Hotel, and I didn't really know what I booked. I just saw that it was close to like the places where Tommy wanted to go as far as shops to visit. And I
Mm-hmm.
get back from the event, and I walk into the main entrance of the Union Station Hotel, and it was the old Union train station. Well, I go and I sit at the bar, and I'm just having a cocktail and whining, and then all of a sudden this like light show comes on, and it's like a Queen light show, and they like have like a cartoon like figurines of Bohemian Rhapsody going across the ceiling,
Oh
and
wow.
just it was just crazy. I was like, what's my drink? I'm like, I was like, well,
What am I
this
in?
I was like, this is really good. And so I was like, wow, this is crazy. And so then we get up, then we go to Kansas City. We meet with shops in Kansas City, and we met with Ash Cigars in Kansas City. And they actually brought our cigars in after that trip, so that was really cool. So thank you to you guys.
Nice.
Um, and then we had that event in Ash and Anvil, and we met with uh, three or four more shops in the Kansas City area. Then we did that event in Ash and Anvil, and then that event went great. Derek and his dad and the crew there, Louis or Lewis, can't remember if it's Lewis. My great grandpa's name's Louis, but it's spelled
Okay.
Lewis. So I always think, is his name Louis or Lewis?
How do you say it?
Yeah. So we had a great event there. It was very well received. Derek was really happy with it, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Like this is what it's supposed to be like, right?" I was like, "Awesome." And so
This is
the
life now.
feedback was great. Yeah, this is life. What? I get to go around, smoke cigars, and hang out with people. But the thing is I'm really introverted. Like when I'm in a crowd, I don't really
Hmm.
like to. I don't know, really be. I don't like to be the center of attention. I'd rather just be like somebody on the wall and just chill and hang out.
Yep.
And so when you're there and you're explaining your brand and talking to people and you're working the room, it's that's a lot for me. And so it just takes a minute for me to recover from that. But coming back, I mean, I thought the trip went great. Derek reordered Ash and Anvil, Cigar Boat reordered. We got that account with Ash Cigars. Met those people there while we did the visits.
Hmm.
So hopefully, I talked to those guys at PCA, and just really just trying to reap what you sow.
Yep.
I'm
Very
gonna
cool.
make that old. Say it too much.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Um, so, you guys, when you first started out, did something that I had never seen done before in the cigar industry, being offered by a brand. And because of Montana, because of fly fishing, because of the River Series, because of all of that, you offer essentially cigar boxes, but they come with some other stuff in it that involves an outdoor activity of fishing. So, talk about sort of the mindset behind that.
Well, that's so we make that. It's called a Montana River Box or Montana Fly Box, and it comes with 5 cigars, a dozen hand tan flies, and a cutter. And it's our 20 count box, and all we did we just retrofitted it to be able to put flies in it and a cutter in it, and it turns out really cool. I wish I had one with me right now, but I don't. And
Hmm.
we do an ad in Fly Fisherman magazine every year, and we sell a lot of them all across the country because a lot of avid fly fishermen actually love cigars. So it's like it's
Uh-huh.
a niche that we found that we didn't really know was there.
Hmm.
We always enjoyed cigars when we were fishing, but we didn't know that we could capitalize on it. So we have a really good following with people that enjoy fly fishing and are fishing in general, the outdoors in general,
Hmm.
and that's really what we portray in our brand of like who Jess and I are. We love fishing and hunting, so we
Yep.
try to like relay that image through like uh, our box and our displays.
Very cool. So we've mentioned Jess, a number of different times that he's, with his job and his position, he's taking care of that. What is Jess's role within Big Sky?
Uh, well, he's got a cool spot. He's got a really great mind,
Hmm.
and so um, like he was really able to I don't know really know how to say it, but like he can take the step back and just kind of like look at things of how to make things better or
Okay.
do things different. And so
Sure.
like maybe that's the cool thing of what we have going on is that like he's not in the everyday of now doing this, so he can just like really like look at something and look at how to do it better
Hmm.
and maybe put a new spin to it or do it
Sure.
different than we have. So but right now he's really focused on his role that he's got, and he helps me where he can as far as packing orders, and then with our um, I don't know the correct term to use, but as far as our product chain, as far as like making
Hmm.
sure our inventory is coming up in time from our factories, so we
Sure.
don't run out. But yeah, that's really where his focuses are.
So he's a lot more in the logistics operational mindset, taking a step back and looking at seeing where things can be adjusted and can be tweaked, and seeing how, for lack of a better term, things can be improved upon. Not that they're going, poorly, but ways that a little adjustment can be made so that things can continue to get better and keep growing. Sound about right?
Yeah, no, he does a great job with that, and then he's creative too. I mean, he kind of saw how everybody was doing these 5 packs, and he's like, "Whoa, what would be a cool 5 pack?" And he loves Ferrero Rocher, and
Hmm.
so he's just like, "We should make a cigar that looks like a Ferrero Rocher candy bar," and so we did. And that's the chocolate minnow. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, when I saw pictures of the chocolate minnow and I looked at it, I was like, that's just, it stands out. And for a cigar of that format that is smaller, I've got one more sitting here as a smaller format cigar. You want to be able to have that cigar stand out when you're at a brick and mortar, when you're at a trade show, wherever you're at, because it's really easy to overlook something. And this is probably what, about 4.5 inches long, maybe, or so. And you adding that gold foiling and all that kind of stuff makes it stand out and brings attention. It may be the thing that catches somebody's eye that turns them onto your brand.
Yeah, it's definitely an eye catcher. Um, and just you know, social media and just people are looking to try something new, and then when you have a product like that, it's just very eye appealing. It was a great idea.
Yep, nice. So we've talked about obviously you being on the road now. We've talked about the different blends. We've talked about where you started from. We've talked a little bit about the goals moving forward, and all those different things. Of your entire lineup, what is your favorite blend that you just find yourself going to over and over again?
I really love the Cryptid cigar, and what's cool with that is like I was after I did a cut and light last night at CDOT in Houston, and went really well. It was a packed house, and the
Mm-hmm.
people there were really cool. And Sam was like, "Oh, how'd it go?" I was like, "Oh, I think it went great. Like there's a lot of people here, and people are loving the sticks." And
Mm-hmm.
well, then I was talking to another guy on Facebook, David, and he was on he got on that smoking tobacco chat I had with Matt and Matthew. Is it, the,
Yeah, Matthew is the Matt and Nicole are the two main for smoking tobacco.
yeah,
But he probably had his co-host with him as well. I'm guessing, is that who you're referring to?
yeah, his co-host is it Mitchell? I think it's Mitchell.
Mitchell. Yes.
Yeah, no, he's a cool guy. And
Mm-hmm.
so, well, this David guy was on there, and we talked before on an Asheville Herf, and he's like, "Oh, we got to meet up for a stick." And so we decided to meet at Casa Monte Cristo last night, and the one that he works at, and we're having a cigar, and I was wearing my Big Sky polo and hat, and this lady was sitting across from us, and then she's just like, "Hey, excuse me," and I was just like, "Hi," and, just like, how you doing? And she's just like, I just want to tell you that I love this cigar. And she turned me a picture, and she had smoked the Cryptid, and she had a really cool picture of it. She's like, this is an amazing cigar. She's like, I
Wow.
just wanted to tell you that. And I was like, well, you just really made my night. And so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's getting to a point,
Go ahead.
just getting to a point where just like, you're just like cutting up with a guy that you've met, and David, he was really cool to talk to last night, and just some another person smoking a cigar in the lounge is like, like wants to tell you that they really loved your cigar. I was like that was really cool.
Yeah, like you said, makes your night. It's like, wait, and again, it's the mindset of like, I'm working really hard, don't know who's paying attention, and then you get this random person in the lounge, and they're like, this is what I love. I can't stop smoking it, and you're like, wait, that's ours. That's not somebody
Yeah,
else.
yeah. It was in the so it was really cool. Her name is Natalie, but that was really cool. She said that. Made my night.
Very cool. So, where are you heading on the road soon for people that want to see what events are going on? What states are you hitting coming up, leading up to PCA?
I need to get over to Louisiana again, and I need to get up to Oklahoma. Uh, Maybe I'll talk with Tommy about coming up to the Midwest again before PCA, and talk to our Southeast rep, and
Mm-hmm.
just doing a little bit more of a tour to hit more of those shops and introduce the brand a little bit more. But that's my goal. I have some more events around Texas that are scheduled.
Okay.
Um, but yeah,
Well, and the brand probably does pretty well in Texas. Obviously, it's getting into more shops with you traveling down there, but they've got a similar mindset. Yes, obviously they're in firearms and hunting and all that stuff as well in Texas, but the outdoor person in general probably just really enjoys what you guys started as, where you're at, what you stand for, and it's probably a market that is going to do really really well for Big Sky, and Oklahoma as well. I mean, when you mentioned Oklahoma, I was like, oh, there's no reason why that entire state, that demographic, is just going to fall in love with it.
I hope so. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, just like the brand, I just don't really know what other cigar brands really connect with the outdoorsman or
Hmm.
outdoors person. And that's just something that Jess and I are, and that's
Hmm.
who we relate to. And
Yep.
so we appreciate that. But I mean, it's getting accepted by, in Houston. At first, it was
Hmm.
kind of a hard sell, but now we're selling a lot of them in Houston too.
Good.
So
Very cool. Now, um, have you guys? I know we talked about different box clubs. Have you guys been into any publications? I know you mentioned the one for fly fishing and all that you do an ad every year for. But have you been published in any other publications, whether it be Cigars and Spirits or Cigar Snob or anybody else? Have they picked up and done articles? Have they rated the cigar? How have the cigars been rated?
we've been rated by like Blind Man's Puff and
Hmm.
Cigar Public, and so a couple of them are in Cigar Dojo. That's something that I could really improve on, is like getting more cigars rated, and something that I just hasn't really been on the front of my mind. So
Hmm.
that's a good thing for me to take from this conversation, is to get our cigars out and get them rated by more people, like you're saying.
Yeah,
But
get
as
them
far as
into, yep, developing palettes, get them into, different places that score Stogie Press. I mean, Boston Jimmy, he always does a scoring on anything he reviews. So I can definitely connect you with some people, and we can help, work towards that. But that is one thing that I've noticed with a lot of the, young brands that I've interfaced with, worked around, talked with and stuff, is that as soon as they get into a publication, things continue to start growing. I mean, there's another brand, I'll just say Patina, that I believe it was Cigar Snob. It was either Snob or Dojo, one of the two. I think it was Snob that put their Maduro as the most under the radar cigar of the year, and that helped pick them up quite a bit. So yeah,
oh,
getting Big
cool.
Sky into some of those rating publications, I'm sure would be a really good next step for you guys.
Yeah, and a lot of it's just like pay to play though too, and um,
Hmm.
I just we really haven't allocated the budget to do that side of the marketing as far
Sure.
as the rating our cigars. Our funds have mostly been going into product development and increasing our inventory.
Yep.
And then, now we have our sales team, so then it's, covering our commission on all our sales team. And I mean, that comes with sales, so that's pretty cool.
Yep.
It pays for itself. But just more of our money's gone towards inventory and product development than it really has towards that marketing aspect.
Sure. So what's the biggest thing you've learned so far since Big Sky started?
Uh, I mean, it's tough, like any small business owner and getting started, and like you're having a dream and a passion and following it and just sticking to what you want to do and your belief. I mean, there's a lot of struggles and a lot of times you're just like, man, this is a lot. But you know, times like last night when I'm talking and that lady comes up to me and said, "Hey, I love this cigar," it makes it worth it.
Absolutely.
So,
And for anybody watching, I mean, feel free to throw comments in and contribute to the conversation. Ask questions if you have any questions for Brandon at all, questions about Big Sky. If you're in a state and you don't know if they're in your state, whatever it may be, go ahead and throw those comments in. But I just got to show this off. The bitter root right here, again, focus. Um, just the construction on this is just awesome. I mean, you look at so many other brands, and I smoke cigar after cigar after cigar from reviewing them or just in my free time. And there's a lot of construction issues. And your brand is one that time after time is consistent, good construction, draw, all those different things. And so I got to show it off to people because I mean it's holding on, it's doing really well. So but yeah, if you have any questions for Brandon about Big Sky, throw them in the comments over there with the people that are watching. We'd love to get them answered for you. Um, Tap off the ash now before it falls on me, because with my luck, I'll talk about it and then boop, it'll fall all over me, which has happened many times, as it
oh
has to
yeah,
all of us.
yeah, it does. I mean, I'll say as far as the construction goes, I mean, you really got to take your hands off to the manufacturer or the factories, and like finding that partner, that factory that you partner with, and like having the trust with them that they're going to create that quality product so you have that great experience. So, if I want to say like thank you for the compliment, but really that compliment needs to go to Carlos Sanchez at Tacasa,
Sure.
and then Paco Costa with Yellowstone, and then now when
Mm-hmm.
this Blackfoot's going to come out, that compliment really needs to go to Chica, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the people, all those people in those organizations, they're the ones that are making the cigars. We just go down there and have an idea of how to blend it, and they do a lot of that. That's them with the construction, you know.
Yep.
But
They put
it's
in the
on
hard
us to
work.
it's on us to find the people that are going to do it right. But I really don't like taking credit for the
Sure.
construction. I always felt like that needs to go to the factories and the people that are doing it.
Absolutely. So the one cigar that we've only touched on very, very briefly, but I love the story behind it that I learned last year at PCA was El Profesor. Talk about that cigar.
So in Montana, in the north generally, in the winter we have a really the smoking season is not the best. And in Montana, we have lounges, and lounges are starting to become more popular. I think we have 7 now in the state, and they've really done a great job. Ken Weinheimer, he's really spearheaded the lounges, and he spearheaded that tax bill. But where I'm going with this is, don't want to be outside in the middle of winter smoking a Toro. So we wanted to
Mm-hmm.
develop some smaller formatted cigars, and so we had the Mad Minnow, and the Mad Minnow is great while you're fishing or boating out on the river or lake because it's not in your way while you're casting.
Yep.
And so we like that petite Corona.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was smoking the Professor, and I really liked the format of it, and it was great. And there was something that Jess liked too. And then Jess had this idea in the back of his head from an experience when he had been in Esteli before. Um, he'd taken a back road with one of our sales guys that was down there. I wasn't able to make the trip, but they went from Esteli, and you can either go on that highway straight towards Managua and then cut across the Leon, but there's this country back road,
Mm-hmm.
and he was going down it, and there's this guy walking down the road with a briefcase and a suit, and he looks over at our sales guy. He's like, "Hey, should we pick him up?" And he's just like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, why is this guy walking down this middle of nowhere with this suitcase and a suit? Like, is he like part of the Nicaraguan mafia or something? And so they ended up picking him up, and he doesn't really say much. He's a very quiet man and very quiet demeanor. And so they get into that Leon area, and they get pulled over by the national police, and they start searching through the vehicle, and one of the police officers recognized the gentleman in the back seat, and he's like, "Oh well, Professor, lo siento, I'm so sorry." And
Mm-hmm.
he tells everybody to put everything back in the truck, and these guys can go. And so then what Jess says is he was really like, "All right, really, who is this guy?"
Yeah.
Like that was wild, and because that could have gone like 100 different ways,
Yes, and many
and
of them being bad.
yeah. That was the one way that it could have went right, was this guy was actually somebody. But so he told Jess is that he was a professor in Leon, and during the weekends or one weekend a month, he would hitchhike up to these small mountain towns in Nicaragua, and he'd tutor children that didn't have schools. So it was their only form of education was when he'd come up there during the weekends.
Hmm.
And one of those that police officer was one of his students from like 10 years ago.
That's so cool.
And, and so that's where El Professor comes from.
That's cool. Yeah, it's funny how just things work out coincidence, and the fact that what are the odds of picking him up, obviously being on that road, that's where he went back and forth walking to go and educate those kids, but the odds of him being there and all of that happening, it's just funny how things all play out and how they end up working out.
Yeah, no, and it's a cool, it's a great cigar too. I love that little cigar.
Yep, definitely a good one. So how many years has Big Sky been around now? It's been what, about 5 or 6?
Yeah, we're going into year 6.
Okay, very cool. So when you go into shops and lounges, especially around Montana, usually when you're in your hometown, so to speak, of a brand, obviously Miami for a lot of the brands, you go into a lounge and you see this person from that brand and this person, from another brand, whatever it may be. How often do you get recognized when you're in Montana and go into local lounges? Not just obviously by the staff that works there, but the regulars or the ones that come in. Do you get recognized, or do people talk to you about, oh, hey, I've checked this out. Do you know anything about them? Does that happen much at all?
I mean, we've done a lot of events at the lounges, so people know the brand, and I know a lot of the guys and gals personally now in Montana. Um, But what's cool is like when you get tagged on a random post on like Facebook or Instagram, and just somebody's really enjoying the cigar and they tag you in it, and they're from, some town in Montana, and you're just like, wow, that's pretty neat. So there's a cool story. I was talking to my dad earlier this week, and he
Hmm.
was just like, yeah, so a, a rancher from where our family ranch in Plentywood's at was down in Ennis, Montana at Willie's Distillery, and he went in there and there's a tasting room and they have a humidor and all they do is carry Big Sky. Well, they got in there and these guys, a group of guys came in and they're just like, "Oh, where's all the Big Sky at? You guys are out of Big Sky?" And so then Rom like texts my dad, and then so then my dad tells me that on the phone. I was like, "Well, they did just reorder, so I guess that makes sense." So it's pretty cool to like hear stories like that.
Yep, people are definitely looking for it. They're going for it. I got to ask a random off the wall question, and it's only because of the name of one of your blends, your first one that you put out, Yellowstone. So after the TV show, and you've probably been asked this before, after the TV show blew up and got big and all of that, did that make any difference on your cigar sales for the Yellowstone? Did people think that they were, you know, connected in any way, or was like, oh, maybe this got put out because of the TV show?
Uh, well, our branding and marketing it has the river on it.
Hmm.
But as far as the TV show goes, there have been people that correlates the brand and the cigar together, but that's not what it was named after. And it's actually Yellowstone's
Right.
trademarked by Frontier. And we were at their first show at TPE, and he came by and he's just like, we got Yellowstone trademarked, right? And I'm just like, we do
Uh-oh.
now. And he's just like, well, I know you're not trying to steal what I'm doing, so I don't really care. He's just like, you guys keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate your hustle. And so we thanked him very much. That was really cool of him. But we have been told by some shop owners that like people come in, oh, Yellowstone, that must be for the Yellowstone TV series. So I mean, people just make that correlation themselves, but that's not what the cigar is named after.
Right. Well, and the cigar was out, I mean, a few years before the TV show ever started and exploded and took off. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think we released the cigar like the year before the TV series came out, and I tried really hard to get product placement on the show and like trying to contact them, but it just never worked out.
yeah, I'm sure it's got to be hard to do, especially with a show that large. And I'm sure they have people reaching out to them every single day. We want, put this shirt in or put this hat in or do this or do that. I'm sure it's not easy to get product into a show like that.
Well, and then just like the tobacco marketing laws, you can't have
Right.
tobacco or a brand recognition on TV, so
It's a
that
little
just doesn't
tricky.
really work out. Yeah,
Yep.
if it's on there, I think they blur it out on purpose.
And I notice that in a lot of TV shows or movies. I mean, you don't see it hardly anymore on TV than when you used to see smoking all the time. But on movies, I'll see mostly it's like an unbanded cigar, or if it's banded, they're blocking it with their hands or their fingers, so you can't tell what brand it is unless you really know cigar bands. Um, so that totally makes sense. But yeah, it was one of those questions that I thought of, and I was just like, I doubt it had any impact on it or anything. But I just wanted to see if there'd been any response, or if you'd heard of, oh, somebody came into the shop and they saw Yellowstone and they figured, I like the show, I'll smoke the cigar, why not, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few times, or it probably happens a lot more than we know. It's just really hard to track uh, that statistic.
Absolutely. So, what was the first trade show that you guys went to? Was it TPE in or PCA back in 21 or 22? When did you guys first attend a trade show?
So our first trade show was after TPE after COVID. So it was in 21 when they did it in May,
Hmm.
and we had our log cabin booth. We didn't really know what we were doing, just kind of made the best decisions we could. So we get this like custom cabin made in Laurel. We put it in a U-Haul, drive the truck from Montana down to Vegas.
Oh,
Uh, my the wheel on my pick, I had a flat tire, so I had them fix my tire. Well, they didn't torque down my studs, so we get to the hotel, and I had two lug nuts left, and one of them was about to come off. And so
whoa,
like we about had a big wreck, and the just think if we would have wrecked that pickup with that trailer with that log cabin display behind us, I mean, we probably would have like we would have all been done. Like
yeah,
that was the end of Big Sky right there.
exactly.
So that was pretty crazy. That we're lucky we didn't die there. Uh, Somebody was looking over us there, so thank you very much. But So we get there, we go to drop the our display off. Well, we didn't realize with the unions that they have to unload and load everything.
And it costs about $1 million for them to touch one box.
So they unload it and they weigh it, and then we get the bill. And I'm walking by, I get the bill, and my eyes get wide open. I'm just like, oh my god, the bill to unload it costs more than it costs to build the display. They charge us
Oh,
$3 a pound, and I'm just like, oh my. I was like, this really sucks.
yeah.
So, but the trade, I mean, everybody loved the booth and the original authenticity of it,
Hmm.
and it was a really clean look, really fit our brand, displayed our boxes well, and it really was eye catching because a lot of people they have their display cases and it just people follow a very similar kind of cookie cutter display for trade
Sure.
shows,
Yep.
and so it was different and it caught people's eyes, and we ended up gaining like 17 accounts at that show, so that was huge for us.
Yeah.
And then we went to PCA the next year, and small companies, so we didn't have the budget to hit both of them. And so we
Right.
did PCA, and PCA went really well, and we really liked the feedback from PCA, and then we decided that we were going to stick with PCA. So we're doing PCA again this year.
Nice. Now, are you guys going to be doing the same style booth you had last year, which was much more visual, the colors, the backdrops with, the picture of the cigars, outdoors, all that, the shelving? Is that your standard trade show display now, or are you guys mixing it up this year?
It's going to be similar. It's just going to be twice the footprint. So
Oh,
we had
nice.
that 10 by 10 last year. Now we're doing 10 by 20.
Very cool. Are you going to be in a similar area to where you were last year? Or are you guys moving over somewhere else?
You know, when we were finally able to pick out our spot, um, the best one that I could find was in the back of the bus where all the cool kids sit. And
Uh-huh.
so we're next to McAuliffe, which is cool, and then Caldwell. And then I looked last year and I see that AJ Fernandez has a big like 40 by 40 like right behind us. So I was just like, all right, well now I know AJ is there, so people are definitely gonna be walking by.
It's going to be a good place for
So,
foot traffic and to be seen and be visible and all those different things. So, of all the different networking you've done with other brands, other people, and all that, have you relied on or used any connections from within the industry of, oh, hey, this brand said you got to check out this company for boxes? Has any of that taken place, or have you been doing really a lot of just sort of, figuring it out on your own kind of thing?
well, that's where it's different between I think us and a lot of the other manufacturers is that we didn't really have someone coming from Montana. We didn't have those connections
Sure.
of uh, a, a big dog that was gonna kind of put you under their wing and tell you who to go with and who to work with. So we had to find everybody ourselves.
Okay.
And so there was a it was cool that we learned how to do it that way because we found out we can work with anyone is you just making the right contact. But it
Hmm.
was a steeper learning curve than probably most have had.
Yep. Now, during COVID, everybody had issues with getting boxes. Were you guys in the same boat? And is that why, like with the Mad Minnow and some of the wrappings and different things like that, is that why you've pivoted and adjusted? Have you guys had that challenge? Obviously, most people don't have the box issue as much anymore, but did you guys go through that as well?
We didn't really have an issue with our boxes. Carlos, luckily, he's has a really good connection with the box factory in Nicaragua,
Good.
and he put us in touch with his guy that builds a lot of boxes for him, and he did a really great job for us. And then we worked with another company down in Miami, and he's done a great job for us. So the boxes wasn't really the an issue for us. The biggest thing is just like you have to have your timeline correct, and with everybody trying to get stuff pumped out before the show, um, it's just everybody's trying to do it right now. So if you don't have your stuff in the works, like you can't really have anything lagging.
Yep. Yeah, I've talked with another brand that's doing some different things. They've gone with a different factory and done some reblending and all those different things. And talking with them, they were just like, yeah, we just got to make sure everything's done in time. From the bands to the boxes, and is it going to get here and have time to sit? Are we going to get everything in through customs on time? I mean, it's definitely a logistics. You have to think it out in advance, because if you're thinking about it as you're going through it, you're already too late.
Yeah. No, you definitely have to have a game plan, and your game plan has to be pretty tight.
Yep.
So it's
Very cool.
definitely some learning things there.
Yep. So, anything that you want to share with everybody that's watching this, if they watch it on the replay, what do you want to share with them about Big Sky, why they need to check it out, all those different things? Obviously, you can say the cigars are good. I can say the same thing. But what is the thing that you want people to know about Big Sky?
Well, I mean, if you've watched this interview so far to here, just want to say thank you, for your time. It's really cool of everyone. Um, and just, Big Sky, it's just Jess and I were both two guys that, it's kind of the American dream, blue collar guys that work construction and put everything into this to build it to where it's at, and we keep building it, and we're just chasing that dream. And you know, the cool thing is when you smoke our cigars, it's just that the quality speaks for themselves. But
Yep.
just as far as the story, I just want to say thank you for the chance of trying our cigars, and it's been a crazy journey. And then if you're on social media, check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Big Sky Cigar. And then we also have our website, bigskycigar.com. If you'd like to order online, you can go to Little Guys Cigar Shop
Mm-hmm.
and Two Guys Smoke Shop with Dave and Ed. They carry
Mm-hmm.
the Mad Minnow. Um, I think Luxury still might have some. I got to talk to Chris and Ben. They might need to order again. But then Bravado is carrying them too. I got to talk with Eddie. But it's just if you're looking online, just check out Mike with Little Guy. So
Yep. Yeah. And if you're going to go to Little Guy Cigar Shop, for anybody who doesn't know, there's a discount code that you can use, CST10 for Cigar Show Tim. CST10. Use that code at checkout, and you'll save about 10% on your entire order. Support Big Sky. I've supported Brandon and Jess basically since the beginning, back in 2020 when I was planning a cigar show in Arizona. You guys were going to come out. We were talking quite a bit. And then COVID decided to shut that down literally the week before it was supposed to happen. So that was, of course, fun. But go and check out Big Sky Cigars. You guys will not be disappointed. Yes, I say that because obviously I know them personally. They're good friends of mine. But anybody that's watched me for any amount of time knows that I only support brands that I can stand behind, that I know that the cigars are good, and all those different things. So if you have not checked out Big Sky Cigar, I really, really encourage you to do that. With their new release at PCA, look for that to be talked about quite a bit. Brandon, I'll be sitting down. I don't know. Is Jess coming to PCA as well?
yeah, he should be there.
Perfect. Well, everybody look for an interview in person, sitting down with them, talking about the new release, talking about what's going on, getting some video, getting interview time, and doing all that. But it's been a blast hanging out, talking with you, and getting to know more about your brand, what you're doing now, what you're up to. I mean, the fact that you're in, I think you said 26 states, something to that effect.
29.
20. There you go. 29 states. You're in over half the country. When do you guys look to be in the entire country? Do you have a goal of like in the next 3 years we want to be countrywide, or do you have any kind of a timeline goal with that?
Oh, I mean
Tomorrow.
no, we have a lot more of our corporate structure developed before that. I mean, it's tomorrow would be great, and when that happens, obviously you got to make that big leap. But realistically, I'd say 3 years. 3 years would be a good mark.
Yep, very cool. And that puts you guys at a good place. You're still less than 10 years. You're out there. You're working it. All your different sales reps are out there working their territories. And I've heard it said time and time again that it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. And so if you guys can get that before the 10-year mark, that'd be a great thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I guess I need to do it in two.
Very cool. Well, Brandon, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on, brother. It was great when you sent me the press release and everything, and it just worked out. It was like, hey, let's jump on a live. Let's talk. Let's help educate people on Big Sky Cigars, what you guys have to offer, the backstory, and each of your cigars. They all tell a story. Obviously, you've got the River Series, which stands for significant rivers that are in Montana. But I love that there's a story behind everything you guys do, which makes it much easier for me as a content creator. And I know other content creators, if there's a story that they can tell about a cigar, a story behind it, El Profesor or the River Series or Cryptid or anything you guys have, it makes it that much easier to connect with a cigar to enjoy it and to be able to convey really what it is that you want the general public to know about your cigars and your line so that they can go check them out too. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tim, for having me on the show. And, if any retailers see this, please come by our booth at PCA. We're booth 16,119. We're on
That's
the
a long
back right
number.
corner. We're on the back right corner with all the cool kids.
There you go. Sitting in the back with all the jokesters.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Cool.
All right.
Well,
We'll see you, Tim.
absolutely. I appreciate it. Take care. And, we'll be talking again soon. And for anybody that's watching this on the replay, go and check out Big Sky Cigar. Brandon gave all the, why don't you give the social media stuff one more time before we wrap it up?
The handle is Big Sky Cigar, BIGSKYCIGAR, and it's on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn.
Perfect.
But
there you go. Well, I appreciate it. Everybody that's watching this, leave some comments. If you learned something new about Big Sky, anything like that, we'd love to continue the conversation. And I appreciate your time, brother. We'll definitely be catching up at PCA.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Tim. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Take care. All right, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Tobacco Talk Live. I haven't done one of these in quite a while and wanted to just get on, talk about Big Sky. With PCA coming on, I may be doing some more live shows, so I'd love to get participation, people jumping in, getting in the comments, all of that, and get things going again, especially leading up to PCA, because there's going to be a lot coming out. I've heard from many different brands and manufacturers of things that are coming out, new things, reblending, rebranding things. A lot of different stuff is coming out. So hope you've enjoyed this edition of Tobacco Talk Live. But yeah, as I say every single time, enjoy your cigar journey, everybody. I'm Cigar Show Tim. As always, I'll see you.